Good evening. I'd like to welcome you all to the North Bend City Council meeting for April 16th, 2024. Would our city clerk kindly please call roll?
Mayor Pro Tem Ellen Gotthelf, Councilmember Brendan Elwood, Councilmember Mark Jocelyn,
Present.
Councilmember Heather Cullen.
Here.
Councilmember Christina Rustic, Councilmember Susan Torgerson,
Here.
Councilmember Errol Tremolata.
Here.
All are present, Your Honor, with the exception of Councilmember Rustic and Gotthelf.
Thank you very much. So Councilmember Rustic and Councilmember Gotthelf are excused. At this time, I'd love to introduce the world again to our captain, and he would come up to our podium right here and lead us in the flag salute. Thank you, Captain Horsey.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much, Captain. Steaming up here. Before we move on to consent agenda, I would like to announce that the executive session scheduled for tonight has been canceled. We will now move on to consent agenda. We have 4 items on our consent agenda. Can I get a motion?
So moved.
Thank you. Can I get a second? Okay, motion made by Mr. Brendan Elwood and seconded by Ms. Heather Cullen. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? We pass it unanimously. Before we move on to citizens' comments, as indicated on tonight's agenda, if you are attending remotely and would like to submit public comment, please submit your written comments via in-person the day of the meeting. We are no longer taking public comments for those attending remotely via Zoom unless they have reached out to the city clerk in advance of the meeting to request accommodation. Okay, we'll now move on to citizens' comments. At this time, I would like to, if you would like to comment on any item that is not on our agenda tonight, we would invite you to come forward to the podium. If you have requested accommodation with the city clerk and wish to speak during citizens' comments, please raise your hand through the virtual platform, and we will take your comments after in-person comments. Please remember to state your name and your address for the record. You have 3 minutes to speak. Do we have anybody? Well, hello and welcome.
Hello.
Hello.
Right. Okay, go ahead. Do I state my name and address?
Yes.
My name is Sarah Perotis. My address is 326 East Park Street, North Bend, 98045.
And Sarah, I hope you don't mind, but if you can lean in or move that microphone a little closer to you.
Sure.
Doing
How's-
great.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Great. Okay. Go ahead. All right. Honorable Mayor, council members, and city staff, thank you for the opportunity to speak today regarding park safety. North Bend Municipal Code, Chapter 12.04, Park and Trail Use Regulations, Section 12.04.070, Animals at Large, prohibited except by designated off-leash areas. Like I said, my name is Sarah Perotis. I'm a new resident of North Bend, having moved here with my husband and our dog Greta just 3 months ago from Issaquah. One of the big draws for choosing North Bend was the easy access to the city's numerous parks and trails. However, we've unfortunately been unable to enjoy these amenities due to a systemic issue with off-leash dogs in violation of the leash laws. In my short time here, I've witnessed off-leash dogs at nearly every park we visited, including Sideview Neighborhood Park, Torgenson Park, Tollgate Farm Park, Meadowbrook Farm, the Snoqualmie Valley Trail, Dahlgreen Family Park, and Tanner Landing Park, just outside city limits. On 3 separate occasions while walking my leash dog, we've been ambushed by off-leash. While walking my leash dog, we've been ambushed by off-leash dogs whose owners have dismissed and ignored my request to leash their pets as required by law. This is more than an inconvenience to me. It's a serious safety issue. My dog Greta is a rescue with diagnosed anxiety issues. Despite years of training, these ambushes by uncontrolled animals have caused serious setbacks in her condition due to the trauma. I always leash my dog Greta, pick up after her, and ensure she is licensed and vaccinated. I only ask that other owners extend the same courtesy and follow the laws. Ordinance 12.02.070 clearly prohibits animals at large in city parks except designated off-leash areas, which I have no intention of visiting. However, in my experience, the laws does not seem to be enforced. Until this situation is addressed, my family is unable to safely recreate in North Bend's parks out of legitimate fear of being ambushed and harmed by an off-leash animal. This issue has tremendously impacted our quality of life that we hope to enjoy in this town. I implore the city to prioritize upholding its existing ordinances and ensuring park spaces are truly safe and accessible for all residents and visitors. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Anybody else? Anyone online here? No? Okay, thank you. All right, at this moment, we will move on to announcements, presentations, and appointments. And item number 5 is a proclamation, Small Business Week. And I'll be reading that promptly. Okay, whereas small businesses are the foundation of our economy and the glue that holds our community together, creating jobs, bolstering the local economy, and fostering the character of North Bend. And whereas the President of the United States has proclaimed National Small Business Week every year since 1963 to highlight the programs and services available to entrepreneurs through the U.S. Small Business Administration and other government agencies. And whereas, according to the Small Business Administration, there are currently 30.2 million small businesses in the United States. And whereas Washington's small businesses employ more than half of the state's private workforce, 1.3 million workers in Washington, according to the U.S. Small Business Administration, and businesses with fewer than 100 employees are the largest share of small business employment. And whereas North Bend's local businesses are one of our community's greatest strengths, supporting local residents and visitors and fostering innovation, community building, and inspiration for future entrepreneurs. And whereas residents of North Bend honor our local small businesses and their invaluable contributions to our local economy and society. And whereas the city of North Bend supports and joins this national effort to recognize the contributions of small businesses to the local and American economy and their importance to ensuring that our local communities remain as vibrant tomorrow as they are today. Now, therefore, I, Mary Miller, Mayor, do hereby proclaim April 28th through May 4th, 2024 as Small Business Week in the city of North Bend and urge all people in our city to support small businesses and merchants on the Small Business Week and throughout the year. Thank you. And I think we're going to present this tonight. We have Kelly Coughlin, Snoqualmie Valley Chamber of Commerce Executive Director, present to provide us a presentation on the Shop Local campaign. Kelly, would you like to come up to the podium and speak? But I think I'd like to do a little photo op with you just prior. It's going to race your way. Thank you.
Thank you, guys. I think I know most of you guys, and I am Kelly Coughlin. And I wanted to spend a little bit of time here today just to explain just how important this actually is this year. One of the things that you may and may not know is several of our businesses in the Valley and also in North Bend are down in sales 50% from last year. It is inflation is a lot of what's happening with it. A lot of people are not feeling like they can go out and shop and go out to dinner and different things like that. So we've not ever done this proclamation before, and we felt so important this year, especially to just make sure that people understand how important it is to make sure all of these businesses are helped and they go and visit. We, as you know, have one of the cutest downtowns ever. There is not many places that don't have a lot of fast food places and big chain places like ours does. And so it is why everyone comes here. And we are seeing in the past 3 years in the entire valley, we saw 110 small businesses either sold, closed down, or people just moved. And so that's alarming. COVID did not go very well for our businesses. And so we're stepping up, trying to do everything we possibly can. James is going to send some things out to you, and I just wanted to let you know some of the stuff. And I also know that you guys probably don't know some of the chamber stuff. So we're going to watch a quick video, if that's okay. Some of you have seen this one, but we're just going to show you this one. Let you know what the chamber does.
The Snow Valley Chamber serves businesses like mine in 4 different ways. 1, they focus on connection, so helping me connect with other business owners. 2nd, they focus on advocacy, taking issues to Olympia and to the local city governments on behalf of business owners. 3rd is responsible tourism. And 4th, they serve through education.
One of the great things about the chamber is the connections that I'm able to make. And with those connections, I get support both emotionally and pragmatically.
I've gotten to meet a lot of some of my best vendors and some of my best clients through the Snow Valley Chamber.
We've got to connect with a lot of business owners. I mean, just for one is Infusion Bar and Grill. We now sell our pies in their business. We also sell our beer at their business.
Advocacy is one that I don't think a lot of people understand, but it's something that the Chamber does extremely well. I think of things like the improvements to State Route 18. Without the Chamber's involvement, I don't know if that gong would have gotten rung loud enough.
Probably before in the past, the Snow Valley or the Valley in general hasn't attracted the ears and the eyes of Olympia. But I think just with the work that's been done on behalf of the Chamber, we're able to reach Olympia. We're able to get things done like the funding for SR 18.
The roundabout at the intersection of Tolt Hill and 203, there was multiple collisions. And so safety and future growth were a huge reason of why we wanted this roundabout to happen. We've been working on securing state funding, and hopefully in the next 2 years we can get that funding.
The Chamber has made a lot happen with very little budget with responsible tourism. We've been able to produce over 4 guides, a new wedding guide that's bringing weddings to the Valley, an app, and we've been able to take our message and serve over 1 million impressions to people within driving distance for them to come to the Valley and enjoy what we all know we have here.
So the wedding guide is actually a really good resource for any couples that are coming into the area, because once they reach me, they've usually gotten their venue chosen, but what they haven't gotten chosen is photographers, cake vendors, things like that. And that wedding guide, when I give them the wedding guide when they come to see me in regards to hotel rooms, find it very helpful so that they don't have to do all the digging for themselves.
They serve through education with things like the Innovation Center and the topics at their monthly luncheons. If you've been able to go to one of the Innovation Center meetings where Rob brings in speakers, or one of our luncheons where Kelly brings in speakers, my favorite one is The Economist they bring in every year. I know I always get to leave thinking that I've got the same sort of resources that big businesses do, except for I don't get mine through my company. I get them through the Chamber.
I think what really makes the Snow Valley Chamber special is really our community as a whole, and really our place that we're all connected to, and that's the Snoqualmie Valley. And so having people that believe in that and really take ownership of that culture in our community is amazing.
I'm a member of a few different chambers, and I can say without a doubt that the Snow Valley Chamber delivers the most value, bar none. I can also say that they probably have the smallest budget. I think it's just a testament to the people that we have working at the Chamber, that they're able to punch above their weight. And I know that when I donate to the Chamber, every penny is going to go a long way.
So that's just a little bit. If you guys do not know what we do. One of the things I just wanted to clear up, I've had a couple of comments. A lot of the times you'll see things that say Snoqualmie on some of our printed things. And the reason being is we get $67,000 from LTAC funds from the city of Snoqualmie, and that is through the lodging and tax. We have to use Snoqualmie in a lot of things, but I sneak in North Bend every chance I get. Every opportunity I get, I do that. We received a lot of grants during COVID in order to do a lot of our magazines, and I made sure that everybody was represented, especially North Bend. And I'm going to have James give some, if you guys have not seen those, I'm going to have him send those out. But I want you to know that we are very fortunate that you guys have helped us a lot in the past couple of years. I want to just reiterate that we are here for our small businesses. And one of the coolest things that I've seen is just because a business is not in North Bend, it is very worthwhile for North Bend. For instance, Dirtfish. They use all of our restaurants for anything that they are doing. So it goes back and forth. And that is the same as a lot of other different businesses as well. We're going to be seeing a lot more business here when we get the casino coming in. But just to reiterate, the Snoqualmie Casino and Salish Lodge is on residential, oh my gosh, on reservation land. And so we do not get a penny any longer from the Salish Lodge. And so I just want to let you guys know that. And I don't know if you knew that or not, but that has made a huge impact on us. We have gone out and got a lot of grants. One of the grants that we just received was we received $100,000 from the Port of Seattle, $50,000 in 2 different separate years. We're hoping that there's other funding on that. What we're doing that with for that is we are creating the responsible tourism. And what that means is there's a company that is out of Europe, and it's called the Global Sustainable Tourism Council. There are only 2 other cities in the whole state or whole United States that actually has been accredited by this company. But it is pretty intense to be able to get the accreditation. We're going to be starting to do that. That is what the grant from Port of Seattle is part of. It means a lot for our communities. And one of the things that is real important to understand is we have a lot of people that come here during the weekend. What we want is people to come during the week to help. And so that's what's part of this is about, and being able to leave no trace behind in a lot of the trails. That is a really important thing for us. And so you'll see more about that. I just wanted to let you know that we just did receive that. We just received a $22,000 grant as well from Washington Tourism to do the assets for all of the Holland Valley, and that is including North Bend. We're hoping that we got a $50,000 grant. We'll know this week, but we will somehow figure out a way to do a new bike map. If you guys have not seen, biking is like the #1 thing now coming through here. It's going to mean a huge increase in people staying and while they're biking. And once we get this hotel going, we get other things happening, and the tenants this week is going to be opening. It's going to mean a big, huge deal for this for our businesses. We're working really hard on a magazine for biking as well. We're trying to figure out ways of doing that. And I'm also, when he passes these out, it's going to be a 4x4 magazine. And so we'll be able to get those out. And if you didn't notice, we just our wedding guide had 398,000 downloads. So we have accredited that wedding guide to 330 new weddings that have come throughout the valley. A lot of them impact this North Bend as well. And so just take a look at that. There are a couple things that I do want to just quickly tell you. With the Small Business Week, going back to the proclamation, we are really trying to ramp up on social media and different things for people to understand what it is. I'll have James pass out, there's what we're going to do for the entire week. We're going to have social media posts and all kinds of things on April 28th. It's Sunday Fun Day. And so you'll see the different adventures and stuff that we're wanting to do. Monday is Mention Monday. Tuesday is Takeout Tuesday. Wednesday is Wind Down Wednesday. Thursday's Thirsty Thursday. Friday's Friendly Friday. And May 4th is Social Saturday. So we're trying to make things fun and energetic and trying to get that out. We're also doing two other things that are really important. I think we're doing a featured business of a brick and mortar is what we're calling it. Not just all businesses, but this first one is going to be the Friends & Co. As you know, the big fire happened in Snoqualmie. And so we felt like we're going to like really show some love to them. So we're doing featured businesses. We're also doing new videos that will be one-on-one with business owners. And the reason behind that is we realize that people need to know our business owners and actually feel like they can go in and they know who they're supporting. And so that is a huge part that we're doing as well. You'll see that through the whole entire year. These featured businesses will also be a very important part of that. So that is what we're going to be doing for the small business week. And then on top of that, as you know, next week we are doing the State of the Cities, and I really would ask that you guys come. Mayor Miller is going to be doing her first State of the Cities. We've done this now. It's 55 years that we have done State of the Cities for the Valley. So it's kind of important for us to be able to do that. It's going to be at the club at Snoqualmie Ridge. Would love for you guys to come. I've seen some of you come to some of the luncheons, but I think it's amazing if you can. Next month, we are having FIFA World Cup come and talk about what is going to be happening with FIFA. There's a lot to be done. It's going to be a short time before 2026 hits us. So we're going to be ready for that. One thing that I will come to you eventually and ask for is we know that we need Wi-Fi for our international people to be able to communicate with everyone. And so that is something that we may, if it's temporary or what, we're going to try and figure out a way to do a grant to be able to have that access for our city. Our app is doing amazing. We've got a lot of things happening with that. We'll also be able to have different languages on the app as well. It'll be German, Spanish, and German and Spanish will be the two that'll be on the app as well. So we're trying to get that prepared, trying to do that. And so I would love for you guys to come to see those two. The other thing that I wanted to mention is we have a May 1st, we are doing a technical assistant open house. And for some of you who don't know this, I received a grant for $40,000 last year and this year, and it looks like I'll probably get one for next year as well. That is with the Port of Seattle and the Seattle Chamber. And what that is I help businesses. And some of you guys have already sent me business owners, and I've been able to help them quite a bit to get them started. We have a new, Project Village, I think is what it's called. And is that what it's called? Village Project. I get it wrong all the time, but amazing. That's about to come. And I would love for her to come and talk about that and tell how she did that. A lot of really cool stuff. We do have openings in our businesses, the district. We're working really hard on getting some new business that I'm working with James to really try and get the correct businesses in there. But this technical business is something that's very critical. As you guys may know, we do not have services out here. And so we're bringing them to our business owners. We're bringing the SBA, we're bringing the public health, we're bringing all of those so it's a one-stop shop. And so we'll send that as well to you to see that. And I think I may have taken my time up, and I think, April 26th, we're doing the Regional Business Summit. And that is up at the club, and that we're doing it with Issaquah Chamber, Sammamish Chamber, Newcastle Chamber, and Mercer Island Chamber. And again, we'll have speakers from all over that will come and talk about the different things that are happening, especially at FIFA. And we are working very diligently, working on SR 18. We've had a lot of setbacks. Some of you know the amount of funding was not correct. And so we've had to fight that this past session. We did get it passed. We are going to see the 687 million, I think is what it is, into the SR 18 that is going to really take it from Deep Creek all the way to Tiger Mountain. And then the following year, we are going to be having to work like crazy to get that other funding. It was $1.5 billion is what the total cost is going to be. It's not going to be a pretty thing. So we're going to be fighting it like crazy. So if any of you want to come help me do that, I'm very thankful. We did have a huge meeting with WashDOT last week. WashDOT has told us that when FIFA does come, they are going to treat that as a holiday. So they will not have any work going on when any of the games start. And that is probably one of the largest things that we could have ever done, because that means a lot to, especially we have 3 million people going to be here during that entire month, which is a pretty big impact. And the other thing with that as well, we have 90 is about to have some major changes on it too. There's doing a fish passage that we will see closing on 90 like crazy. They're raising all of the bridges on 98 feet. So during that time, we're going to have to come up with some pretty interesting ways to get people up and down from here. It's going to make a big impact. And so that starts the end of 2025. So this is what we do. This is the chamber. And I just wanted to make sure you guys knew who we were and what we did. And if you have any questions, I'm happy. And I'm also going to pass out I just realized that they made a typo. It's supposed to say Snoqualmie Pass instead of Snoqualmie Falls. And we will make one of these that just says North Bend. Whenever I do anything, I try to do separate ones for each city as well. So we will have one of these separate just for North Bend. So.
Thank you, Kelly. Any council questions? Yep.
Thank you, Your Honor. 2 questions for you. Thank you. First of all, great presentation, great update. Really excited about everything that's happening and everything that you're managing, and hearing all the grant monies coming in and all the different ways that that's being spent is great. First question, in relationship to the Snoqualmie tribe, are we receiving any grant monies from them? Because I do know that okay.
Not yet. I think once we start doing with the GTSC, I think that will make a huge difference, because we are going to be doing responsible tourism, and we have not been able to get any funding just yet on that. But again, it's on tribal land, and so they don't have to give us funds.
Right. Yeah. Just, the small businesses and the amenities also have a positive influence on their business and what
Yes.
so I can see where there should be some reciprocity, especially since a significant amount of revenue was, now gone.
Yes.
Because of the Salish Lodge. Next question is just a clarification. You said the Global Sustainability something grant. What
Yeah.
was that again?
So that is, it's called the Global Sustainable Tourism Council.
Thank you.
And again, that is what the Port of Seattle is paying for us to get accredited on that. And we'll be the 3rd one in the entire nation to be able to do it.
And then with that, what is there? I mean, obviously, as an individual council member, but I'm sure my colleagues will agree, where are areas that you can plug and play us on some of these things, number one, and number two,
Yeah.
especially with global sustainable tourism. I personally am interested in that one,
Mhm.
but and I'm sure there's a list, you don't have to explain it now, but please, if you do have some way that you could package that up and say, this is where we could use council help, and just sending it to council. That way it's on our radar, and then we can just hop in where we can.
Yes, and we will be coming to you. It is, there are different groups that we will have to form. And so it's very specific on what we have to do.
Mhm.
And a part of it is having the city councils as part of this to play a huge role in what is decided as it's an advisory role. And so we will definitely come to you and say, this is what we need. And we'll also have to have an agreement. We're also currently working, trying to get another fund from Washington Tourism. And that will be coming in the next week from us to you guys. And that also requires that we have an advisory council with the city council as part of it. We're going to go after being the destination marketing organization. And so that's part of the assessment that we're trying to get that grant as well. So that will be coming to you next week.
Great, thank you very much.
Any other questions? Oh, Ms. Torgerson.
Quick follow-up on that. The Global Sustainability Tourism, something or other,
Council.
is that a nationwide one?
International.
International, okay.
Mhm.
So it's not like King County or whatever, it's
Mm-mm.
attached to it. Okay.
No, but the Port of Seattle just did, they put out a huge new tourism handbook. And so they're basing everything that they're doing off of this GTSC. It's very important for them also, and that is including their cruise ships and everything. So they're really pushing this, and it's a great company. If you get a chance, I can send the link for you guys to do the research on the handbook for both Port of Seattle and the GTSC, just so you can kind of get an idea of what this entails.
Anybody else from council? Questions? Mr. Drummer?
Yeah, I would just echo what Councilmember Elwood said. One thing I'd like to see, which I know you will do and you do through James, but if there's, the jarring number that you mentioned is the first thing you said, 50% sales down. So kind of over time, since you're so plugged in with the Valley and those businesses, if there's anything council can do from a policy perspective, from an investment perspective, I think those are things that we would like to see on the plate to, whether we do it or not, to say, hey, we think from the chamber's perspective, if you're willing to do this, this is going to be a shot in the arm, and here's why.
Yeah.
I know we have these ongoing conversations with James, but just having more conversation around that, because sometimes it feels like there's only so much we can do. Yeah, we're going to share those social media posts and we're going to tell our neighbors to shop local. But if there's anything more that we can do from the body to kind of go beyond that and be more intentional, yeah, I would
Yeah.
love to see that.
Yes, and I do have quite a few things to bring to you on that. I'm going to work really closely with James. We've got a lot of things. You've got a gem here. If you guys don't know, James is like amazing. I think it just already put us 10 years ahead of time just having him here. So very proud to be partnering with him on a lot of the different things that we're doing. But we do have quite a few things that can be played. And with the 50% decrease, we also have a workforce issue as well, as some of you may know. And so that is something, last year, you may not know this, but I know Dave remembers this, but we actually sent out a flyer. We have snowvalleyjobs.com that we invested in, and we were able to get quite a few people in jobs working on that again. I think we're going to have to do that again. And we're also going to have to do some extra work with some workforce with SCAN and different things that help people figure out other ways of getting people up here. I think probably what we're going to end up doing is probably Kittitas County is the next option for us to really try and get people over. 18 is a huge issue right now. We've even the casino has lost a lot of their employees because it takes 2 hours to get to work. And the other huge issue is our teachers have also quit like crazy as well because they cannot get over in time. And unfortunately, 18 is going to be all the way through. They're saying estimated to 2033. So we've got quite a ways to go with this. And right now is the time that we need to invest and figure out how we're going to get the workforce here, because without the workforce, some of our businesses even closed because they couldn't get workers. So that is probably one of our main things, and we'll come to you and we'll share some of that other findings with you. Thank you. And again, I've got handouts for you that we'll pass on to you just so you can see, and forgive some of the spellings because of this was, we had the fire that we had to deal with, and we could not get everything done in a timely manner. So I apologize for that, but we got it.
Thank you very much, Kelly. Thank you for a great presentation. Okay, we're going to move on to item 7, presentation, the 2023 financial report. Martin Chow.
Thank you, Mayor, Council. For the record, Martin Shaw, Finance Director, City of North Bend. Tonight, I'm presenting the 2023 year-end financial status report. This report was presented to the Finance and Administration Committee on April 9th. Of about 7 or about 10 slides to go through with you in maybe about 15 minutes. Maybe Aaron, I'll just have you flip the slides for me. Okay, thanks. Next slide, please. Slide 2. Oh, great, thanks. So in terms of an executive summary, council, again, this is for year ending 2023. I'm pleased to report that all funds ended in a positive financial condition. And what that means, council, is that revenues exceeded expenses, and that our fund balances for each fund ended in positive territory. The city's largest fund, which is the general fund, ended with a $5.9 million fund balance. And that reflects two things. One is revenues came in slightly higher than budget, and that reflects stronger than expected tax collections. And on the expenditure side, that came in lower than budget, and that primarily reflected timing of expenses, particularly in the areas of operational savings as well as purchases. In terms of local economic activity, and I'll go over these statistics here in a little bit more detail. What we're noticing is that building activity across the city is slowing, and that reflects a broader trend that we're seeing not just across the state, but also nationwide. Taxable retail sales for the city, this is through the third quarter of 2023. It is remaining steady despite a slowdown that we're seeing in neighboring communities. And again, I'll go over those statistics in a little bit more detail with you. Slide 3, please. So council, and for the listening public, this chart here is a histogram showing the ending fund balances, which is in orange, and the beginning fund balance for 2023, which is in blue. And the thing to take away here is that each fund is above zero. So we ended 2023 in positive territory. What we do see is, for example, the Sewer Operating Fund, there was a large spike in terms of the beginning fund balance versus the ending fund balance. And that reflects the receipt of revenue bond proceeds for construction of the wastewater treatment plant. Next slide, Aaron. In terms of the general fund, as I mentioned earlier, this fund ended in positive financial condition. If we start from the bottom of this chart first, what we see is that this fund ended with about $5.9 million in terms of an ending fund balance. That compares to a budgeted ending fund balance of $4.9 million. And again, the positive performance of this fund reflects two things. The top half of this chart shows that our revenues exceeded budget by a little bit over $1 million. And again, as I mentioned earlier, that reflects stronger than anticipated tax collections. And then on the operating side, we spent a total of $12.5 million, and that compares to a budget of $13.5 million. And again, that reflects timing of purchases as well as operational savings. And do feel free to stop me if you have any questions. Next slide. As I mentioned at the outset, what we're seeing is a slight slowdown in certain areas of the economy. There are a couple of charts here that I'd like to go over with you. Top right is building permit volumes. And what we show here are the number of building permits within the city between 2020 and 2023. What we see is that we reached a peak of about 524 units in 2021, and that has slowed down to about 400 units in 2023. We do see a similar trend of building permit volumes within the state as well as across the country. In terms of the year-over-year percent change in building permit volumes, North Bend is down about 7%, Washington State is down about 24%, and the United States as a whole is down about 12%. In terms of taxable retail sales, this is a large chart in the bottom, and this compares the first 9 months of 2023 versus the same period 2022. What we see here is that taxable retail sales for the city of North Bend totaled about $300 million for the current year, which is about even with the previous 9 months of the previous year.
A question?
Yes, Councilman.
The decrease in building permit volume seems counterintuitive to me. Do you have any insight or explanation as to how it is building permits went down 24% statewide in that period of time?
Sure. Typically what we see is, well, first of all, if you study the chart a little bit, the top chart, Councilman, we see that building permit volumes came out strong in 2021, right, following the COVID year 2020. And that is pretty typical of what we see communities do in terms of the first year coming out of a slow period. There's quite a bit of pent-up demand for goods and services. Now, the slowdown that we see as we see in 2022 and then into 2023 could be due to a couple of things. One is the relatively higher interest rates, and that could have a dampening effect on housing demand. The other possibility, Councilman, is that as the general economy is kind of maturing, coming out of the COVID year 2020, that's kind of reaching a level of stability. And what you may be seeing is that 2023 is more of a normal year.
Thank you.
Coming back to the taxable retail sales chart on the large chart in the bottom, what's interesting to note here, Council, is that while the city of North Bend sales taxes were about flat year over year, the several surrounding communities around us, their taxable retail sales were actually down. Sammamish was down about 2.9%. Snoqualmie was down about 1.5%. Issaquah down about 3.3%. Seattle was up about 4.8%. Next slide, Aaron. This next chart shows the financial performance for the city's special revenue funds. And again, for the listening public, these are funds that are set up to account for revenues that are collected for a specific purpose and use within the city. One of the largest funds within the city is the Impact Fees Fund. And as we can see here, this fund ended with a fund balance of about just under $10 million, and that compares to a budget level of about $12.8 million. Total collections in this fund, as you can see, was about just under $4 million, compared to expenses of about $3.2 million. And then as we look across the bottom of the chart there, as I mentioned, all funds ended in positive territory. As you can see on the line, it says change to 2023 fund balance. Across all funds, nearly all funds ended with the increase in their fund balance. Next slide.
Quick question, or maybe just confirmation of an observation. We should expect impact fees to decrease from here on. Is that a correct assessment?
That's right. Thank you for the question, Councilman. So impact fees are fees that are paid as a one-time payment to the city, representing the impact that new development would have upon the city. So as building permit volume slows, we would expect to see the impact fee revenue would slow as well.
And then when you couple that with the build out of what we have in our current community, we'll expect this to trend downwards.
That's correct.
Thank you.
This next chart is for the city's capital funds. Again, for the listening public, these are funds that are established to account for revenues and expenses that are used for construction of major infrastructure within the city. The largest fund is the 310 fund, which is used to account for municipal construction or municipal capital improvement projects. For the year 2023, there was a total spent of about $3.5 million. This significant amount of money is kind of reflective of the number of projects that we have going on within the city. I've included up here a listing of the major projects in 2023. I won't go over this list in detail, but as you can see, we have several large projects in design or in construction during 2023. And again, at the bottom of this chart here, both funds ended in positive financial condition, with the municipal projects fund ending with about $600,000, and the capital improvement or the real estate excise tax fund, Fund 320, ending with about 5.6 million, approximately equal to the budget levels. Next slide. This slide here, again, for the listening public, shows the financial performance for the city's enterprise funds. Enterprise funds are funds that are established to operate much like a business, where its operations are funded solely from user charges. In this case, in the city's case, this would represent the city's utilities, water, sewer, stormwater, as well as the solid waste fund. And again, similar to other funds within the city, each of these funds ended in positive financial condition. The water operating fund ended with about 3.2 million. Sewer operating fund ended with about 14.3, 2.5 million for the storm fund, and about 600,000 for the solid waste and recycling fund. One of the things to note here is that connection charge revenues, and these are revenues that are one-time payments that the city receives as a condition of new development connecting to the city's utilities. That totaled about $4.3 million. And because these are one-time revenues, when we account for those, what we see then is that charges for services are insufficient to cover operating expenses. The city does have a series of rate studies planned to occur the latter part of this year, and that would be to review the rate revenue or the rate adjustments needed for each of the city's utilities to ensure that those that rates are sufficiently calibrated to cover operating expenses for each utility. Councilman.
I should know this, but what's a contribution?
This would be a connection. These would be
GFC charges.
GFC charges.
Thank you. I mean, I see taxes, I see charges for services. I'm thinking, who's contributing money into the utility fund? And it's the people who are paying to hook up for services.
That's correct.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you for that. I'll make sure it's clear in the next update for this. The last slide in my presentation here is for the internal service funds. For the listening public, these are funds established to account for operating expenses as well as revenues for city functions that provide, or city operations that provide services to other parts of the city. In this case, equipment operations and equipment reserves. And for these two funds, both funds ended with fund balances that were almost identical to budget levels. Fund 501, the equipment operating fund, ended with about $200,000 in line with budgeted expectations, and the 502 fund, the equipment reserves fund, ended with about 1.7 million, and again, very similar to budgeted levels. Next slide, Aaron. I won't go over this, but this is really more of a definitional slide for the listening public, and this defines the purposes or the purpose of each of the different funds or fund types, general fund, special revenue funds, capital enterprise, as well as the internal service funds. And next slide, Aaron. And do you have the economic indices slide? Yeah. So this is a compilation of selected economic indicators. This would be national indicators, Council. This would be for the period ending March 2024. I'll just start with, I won't go over every single one of these, but the key takeaway from these metrics are several. Number one is we see a mixed message for economic indicators across the country. There are some indicators that appear to be increasing in activity. So for example, second column, building permits, we see that building permits increase quite a bit following the 2020 COVID year, and then a slowdown, but now it's somewhat on the rebound. Again, this is on a national level. National GDP up on the top left corner is at about 3.2%, and that's consistent with historical levels. National inflation is running about 3.1%. As you can see where that compares to historically low inflation rates. Retail sales on the first column, second panel, year-over-year increase of about 1.5%. What we see here is this slight downward trend, especially over the past about 18 months. And that's a slightly concerning trend, but that's something to watch closely. New home sales, third column, second panel. What we see there is it's declined since the 2020 COVID year, but it's kind of remaining somewhat steady at about 660,000 units. Then down on the last row, consumer confidence. The current index is 77. The reason why this is tracked is that consumer spending drives about 2/3 of the national economy. So this is something that economists watch closely. The Institute of Supply Management Manufacturing Index. This index measures manufacturing activity across the country. This includes activities such as production, employment, supplies, as well as inventory. What's important to note here is that an index below 50 is generally seen as contraction within the manufacturing sector, whereas an index above 50 is expansion. So again, this is one of the reasons why I'm saying there seems to be mixed messages amongst the different economic indicators. Jobless claims is about 212,000. This would be initial jobless claims that we hear often in report in the news. And next page, Aaron. And the last couple slides, one is on national unemployment. We're currently sitting at about 3.9%. Just for context, 3% is considered full employment by national economists. So we're pretty close to that. And then the last panel is the state's unemployment rate. And as you can see, in January of 2024, we're about 3.7%, fairly close to the national average. And in terms of the state's unemployment rate, it's about 4.5%. And again, that compares to about 3.5% for the nation. So anyway, that's the end of my report. I'll periodically come back to you with a update on the health of each of our funds, as well as any significant changes for the economic indicators that I just went over.
Thank you, Martin. Anybody else from council have any questions for Martin? Oh. Thank you, Martin. Excellent and very thorough report. Okay, we're gonna go on to commission and committee reports. Let's do Mark, Community and Economic Development, if you don't mind.
The Community and Economic Development Committee met earlier today. We discussed an ordinance amending North Bend Municipal Code relative to non-conforming use. It will be coming to council at our next meeting. It extends the period of time over which a homeowner or a property owner has to rebuild from 1 year to two in recognition of the challenges that one might face in rebuilding, and hoping that everybody's working on the same page and pulling in the same direction to put people back together after they suffer a loss. And a similar, another ordinance amending the municipal code relative to International Fire Code to again keep the city consistent with actions at the state and under the watchful eye of East Side Fire and Rescue. We got updates on economic development in the city. Some of what was reflected by the fine presentation earlier, and then on development projects going forward. We will meet again the third Wednesday of next month, Tuesday, pardon me.
Thank you, Mr. Jocelyn. And Ellen Gotelf is not here tonight, but Errol stepping in from Finance and Administration. Thank you.
Yep, this one's fairly easy because Martin just gave a great report. Finance Committee met on April 9th in the adjournment room. We went over the budget calendar, which was a consent item tonight, so all looked good there. We passed it and then reviewed Martin's great presentation that he just gave, and so everyone saw what we saw. And I think one takeaway was spurred quite a bit of conversation after that meeting about actions of council and what we can do to help spur some revenue generation for the city downstream. So more to come on that.
Thank you, Mr. Tremolata, and Mr. Elwood from Public Health and Safety.
Musical reports tonight, Your Honor. Love it. Keeping it frosty. Let's Public Health and Safety Committee met on April 2nd at 4 p.m. in the City Hall adjournment room. Our agenda was full. We had a fire update from Deputy Chief Aho, police update from Chief Lynch. We got to meet our new captain live in person in flesh. There he is back there. Discussion on community lighting for safety purposes throughout the community. We had updates on city and PSC following the presentation from PSC on outages and our next steps. We had some follow-up items Mr. Rigos will be taking care of. And then we discussed agenda topics for the next committee meeting. Our next meeting, I believe, is May 7th at 4 p.m. in the adjournment room. Thank you.
Councilmember Colon from Transportation and Public Works.
Sorry. We discussed a tip priority for the Middle Fork Avenue, 140th Street, 468th roundabout. So for those that don't know, this would be a roundabout near Twin Falls Middle School leading to the Middle Fork. We also discussed a Middle Fork overlook improvements, which is on the east side of town, which would potentially bring picnic tables overlooking the river on the east side of town. Brian Tucker and Mark Rigos did a first reading for 2021 SWDM adoption and amendments to the storm drainage flood. And number 4, Brian Tucker, resolution accepting a bill of sale for infrastructure improvements built in association with the River Run apartment complex. We discussed a resolution approving developer extension agreement with Mike Day Homes LLC for Tanner's Nest 3-lot short plat. Don DeBerg made a motion authorizing additional service addendum with GNO for the wastewater treatment plant, HP Phase 1 construction management. Don DeBerg talked about a motion authorizing a contract with Republic Service to haul and dispose our wastewater treatment sewage sludge, otherwise known as our solid waste. Tom Moore and Dan Marcinko, motion authorizing engineering contract with Transpo Group for the City of North Bend ADA transition plan for public right of way. Mark Rigos, advisement in property acquisition. The city purchased land parcel 092308-9086 owned by the Outlet Mall. Number 10, Tom Moore discussed SR 202 shared use trail pedestrian bridge transportation. So we'd be putting in a bridge by the wastewater treatment plant for pedestrians. Number 11, Mark Rigos introduced city's 6-year CIP capital improvement plan for 2025 through 2030. And Tom Moore, update on electric vehicle EV street PSC with site design and public works. And that is all.
Thank you so much. And from staff, let's move on to James Henderson, Planning Parks and Economic Development Commission report.
Yes, good evening, Mayor and council members. Thank you so much. The Planning Commission met on Wednesday, April 3rd and discussed 2 agenda items. First was related to amendments to the city's non-conforming use regulations, and the second was utilities element update as part of the city's 2024 comprehensive plan updates. The Planning Commission will next meet this Wednesday, April 17, and will discuss 2 agenda items, including continued discussion of the utilities element of the comprehensive plan and an ordinance adopting 2021 edition of the King County Surface Water Design Manual. The Parks Commission did not meet in March. They will next meet on Monday, April 22, a special meeting time, and will discuss a number of agenda items, including potential uses of the annual small park improvements budget for additional bike racks in the downtown, planning for the city's annual Arbor Day event, planning for a Parks Commission tour of city trails and potential trail connections, planning for public parks outreach activities at Summer North Bend events, and staff updates on progress on park and trail related projects. The Economic Development Commission last met on Tuesday, March 26th. At the meeting, they continue to work on the small business expansion guides and the outdoor marketing campaign for mountain biking. The next meeting is scheduled for Tuesday, April 23, with continued work on the outdoor marketing campaign.
Thank you, James, very much. Regional committees, do we have anyone who has any updates for us there? Mr. Tremolata.
Sound Cities Association PIC Committee met April 10th, and we had quite the conversation. So 3 items to cover. Briefly, we had a presentation for the Emergency Medical Services levy renewal, which is coming down the pike. It's renewed every 6 years roughly. So great presentation. That in short covers basic life support, Medic One, all the coordination with the fire departments. So pretty important and some incredible stats. One that I thought was glaring for King County, since this levy has been in place, you are 2 to 3 times more likely than the rest of the country to survive a cardiac arrest in King County based on the success of the basic life science and life support and Medic One services that goes back, I believe, 25 years. So it's a successful program that we should be very fortunate to have. Number 2, there is a long discussion and presentation on the King County Regional Homelessness Authority, which is a bit controversial right now with Seattle and King County. It looks like the group will get additional funding. The SCA representatives serve on a board to sort of an advisory board. There has been a lot of discussion about the previous CEO, sort of what the organization has done since its inception. They want some more money from SCA. SCA is, as a whole, asking them to theoretically show their work, which is, I would say, not great right now. So we'll see where this authority goes. There seems like quite a bit of politicking there, but Seattle's on board, I believe, to throw in more money to renew it. So we'll track that. They are searching for their new CEO as we speak. So hopefully that goes better. And the largest discussion of the night, which will affect all the towns in the valley, but North Bend specifically, the Washington State Bar Association voted to adopt a revised public defense standard, which will reduce the caseload for public defenders by 2/3. So a public defender currently will be able to handle 400 cases. That'll be reduced to 120 misdemeanor cases, and 100 felony cases will be reduced to 47 cases. So we discussed this at length. Effectively, what does that mean for cities? That means that cities have to go hire 3 times as many attorneys to serve for public defense. And if they can't, then the downstream result will be misdemeanors to some degree will not be charged. They won't be able to afford it. Most of the cities that spoke up at the meeting effectively said they couldn't afford to hire 3 times as many attorneys anyway. There was a number of legal folks on the call who also said they don't even know where they would get this many attorneys in the state of Washington, how you could recruit them in. AWC has sent a letter for all the city managers that I think were on board, that told the State Bar Association this is incredibly impactful for our cities. most of the cities kind of agreed that they're going to go back to their towns. It's something that we should discuss with our town as well to review the cost burden that it would be and kind of run that analysis to bring back to SCA and AWC to kind of show the numbers to the state on what impact this would be. And I think one thing that was glaring for all of us as well is to understand that over the course of 5 or 6 years, there have been what I think most people in this room or most people in North Bend would maybe think are felony offenses have been reduced down to misdemeanor offenses. And so there are misdemeanor offenses that could fall in this bucket of not enough attorneys or fall off the charging. And some of them are serious. They involve domestic violence, some drug cases. And so it could have some significant impacts. And then I think on the flip side, it's the other item we discussed was it really does a disservice to kind of the diversion programs and therapeutic courts that we've wanted in the state of Washington. And if we can't even charge these misdemeanor cases that we would generally run through that funnel, they're going to lose funding as well. And then it's going to be a downstream effect. So SCA it was a long discussion, but it was a very unified discussion, I believe, across the board that most cities thought this was going to be very impactful. So a lot to come on that. I do think North Bend, we should take a look at and running some numbers and seeing how we can kind of support that data. But it'll be impactful. But it was nice to see SCA sort of as a unified front saying, hey, we need to speak up on this. And AWC has already sent that letter in. And we will meet again in May.
Thank you for that very thorough and enlightening report, Mr. Tremolata. Anybody else from council? Nope, we're good. Okay, we're going to move on to introductions. Item 8, AB 24-040, motion authorizing contract with the Republic for sludge hauling. Mr. DeBerg, will you be able to provide that report for us today?
I certainly will. Thank you, Mayor and Council. So before you tonight is a renewal of contract with Republic Services, as the Mayor said, to haul and dispose of our sewage sludge. As Councilmember Cullen discussed earlier, we discussed this item at the Transportation and Public Works Committee on March 26th. So this is a 3-year contract. We originally entered this contract in 2015 with them. At that time, Gray and Osborne assisted us with getting this contract set up. With the way our wastewater plant was operating back then, the only option we had was to landfill our sewage sludge, our waste solids. That's because we didn't meet the level of treatment necessary for beneficial reuse. So we've been doing that since 2015. We're still somewhat in that boat. However, with the improvements made under phase 2, we should meet Class B biosolids requirements, which will allow beneficial reuse. We've got some work to do on that. We're right now dialing in the wastewater plant to meet those requirements. We aren't quite there yet, but we're anticipating getting there by the end of the year. Once we get there, we have to do some testing and put together some plans for ecology to approve. Once that's approved, then we will be required to beneficially reuse our sludge. So we'll no longer be allowed to use this Republic Services contract. So we are working that direction. We're anticipating that by the end of this year. So we also discussed this service with Recology. They're currently unable to provide this service to us. They are looking into it. And if they get set up to provide the same service to us, we will enter a contract with them if we aren't already able to meet those Class B biosolids requirements. If we are able to meet the Class B, then we'll skip over Recology altogether and go to a company that can beneficially reuse the biosolids. So the costs for this are anticipated to be about $80,000 to $100,000 a year, depending on the amount of sludge we haul. And I believe that concludes my presentation.
Thank you, Don. Are there any clarifying questions from council? No? Nope. Okay, well, thank you again. If there are members of the audience who would like to comment on this agenda item, we would invite you to come forward to the podium at this time. If you have requested accommodation with the city clerk and wish to speak, please raise your hand through the virtual platform and we will take your comments after the in-person comments. I don't believe we have anybody. Okay. All right, Councilmember Colin, will you please make the motion?
Yes, Your Honor. Motion to approve AB 24-040, authorizing the mayor to execute a contract with Republic Services for hauling and disposing of wastewater treatment plant sewage sludge in a form approved by the city attorney.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Mr. Jocelyn. Motion made by Ms. Colin and seconded by Mr. Jocelyn. Anybody, let's see, Ms. Colin, would you like to speak to your motion? I'd hate to forget.
We need to get rid of our sludge. And this
Yes.
seems like the only way at the time. So hopefully in the future, we can use our sludge in a productive way instead of just throwing it away. That's what I have to say.
Thank you, Mr. Jocelyn. Would you like to speak to your motion? Your second.
Yeah, I'd like to think I'm capable of learning things even at my age, and engaging in these sorts of, you learn things. And one of the things, if you're paying attention, the contract is either $80,000 to $100,000, which means the less we all communally put down our drains and down our toilets, the less the city is going to have to pay for that. Just straight up. That's how it works, So it's made me more conscious of what I put down my drain, and I'm putting more things in my vegetable recycling because I've also learned that food in your solid waste turns into methane and doesn't help the planet. So small steps, as with Susan Torgerson, I now have a 20-gallon trash can, and my freezer failed of all things as I'm about to leave town, and now I'm throwing away food that I did. It just all feels horrible, and it won't fit in a 20-gallon can, So stories and adventures, but we're in this together, folks, and there are small things we can do. So that's my comment. I will be voting in favor. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Jocelyn. All right, the motion before us. Oops, sorry, Brendan, pardon me.
Just a question struck me as we're talking about being proactive with, what do you say, productive with sludge? When looking at reading your introduction, Mr. Berg, and thank you for the thorough analysis, by the way. If we are able to meet the requirements to have the waste biosolids to be used as fertilizer for crops and so forth, is there any sort of financial kickback to the city in that kind of reuse methodology?
That's very unlikely. Prior to this contract in 2015, we actually did do beneficial reuse. We had some changes at our wastewater plant that prohibited that in about 2015. What we experienced prior is we'd still have to pay for the trucking. That's by far the largest expense. The place we took it before was a King County facility over in Eastern Washington. They charged to accept it. The biosolids that we're going to be producing now, we cannot just hand out to the public. It's got to go to a permitted facility that is permitted by ecology to accept them. So there's costs with that. There's costs with incorporating it into the soil, so on and so forth. So long and short of it is the cost for beneficial reuse should be about the same as the cost for this contract.
Okay, thank you.
Hey, any comments, please? No? Okay, the motion before us is to approve AB 24-040, authorizing the mayor to execute a contract with Republic Services for hauling and disposing of wastewater treatment plant sewage sludge in a form approved by the city attorney. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, we're passing this motion unanimously. Okay, we're gonna move on to mayor, council, administration concerns and initiatives. Let's start with Mr. Jocelyn tonight.
Thank you, Your Honor. It was mentioned earlier about the tragic fire in our neighboring city of Snoqualmie. It could have been so much worse. I wanted to acknowledge Officer Corey Hendricks, who the reporting suggests was on regular patrol doing his job and smelled fire and called for a response, and East Side Fire and Rescue was capable and nearby and responded. And that's part of our job, but our job is to put in place the people who are on the front lines doing those jobs such that they can, and we're in their debt. And I just want to say thank you to everybody. That could have been so much worse, and let's be mindful and thankful. I will be absent this Friday for the ribbon cutting at Tenant Trailhead Park, which I regret, but I think it's just fabulous, and we all get to look forward to that, and that's a wonderful coming together of multiple governmental agencies to improve the quality of life in this beautiful place. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Jocelyn. Right next to me, Mr. Tremolata.
Yeah, couple things. Tenant Trailhead, I'm excited for that. Secondly, I was just going to say, Kelly stole my thunder a little bit, that the weather is great. And I heard so many people during the winter say it was difficult to get around town. The weather's good, so now it's time to go downtown and spend your money and support our small businesses. And conveniently, the chamber spoke tonight. I am also excited for April 26th, which is the Snow Valley Innovation Center partnership with Empower Youth Network Valley Innovation Project down at Remlingen Farms that I'm going to participate in. And if you're interested, you should go to the website and volunteer. If you also have a high school student that's interested, check it out. I believe we're tracking around 40 high school students in Snoqualmie Valley. So should be pretty exciting. First time they've done it, but very happy to participate and excited to see small businesses join with high school students and talk about innovation and business and how do we get these young minds rolling with the future. So thank you, and I'm very excited.
Thank you, Mr. Tremolata. Ms. Colon.
I echo Councilmember Jocelyn. I was sorry to hear about the historical building in downtown Snoqualmie burning down, and I'm very sorry for the 4 businesses that are affected by it. And hopefully we can get them back and running as soon as possible. And I as well, I'm glad that no one got hurt. Everybody's safe, but it is still truly sad.
Thank you, Mr. Torgerson.
Thank you, Kelly, for coming and giving us a report. I will be there at the luncheon at the Tell Between Two Cities. Is that what it's called? And so also I'm going to go to the Encompass Inspire Breakfast. I think some other council members will be there as well. So, and I echo everybody's thoughts about the fires. It's horrible. Hopefully we can get that resolved quickly for those businesses.
Thank you, Mr. Brendan over there.
Mr. Brendan over.
Yeah. Just gonna give you a new name.
Love it. I appreciate Councilmember Jocelyn's words and appreciate his sentiments and extending acknowledgement to frontline staff and the police department and cooperation with the fire department and all that was done to put that fire out quickly and save the old downtown Snoqualmie from worse disaster. So definitely appreciate that. Do appreciate Kelly's wonderful presentation and further cooperation with this council and all the times that you can put North Bend on any of your marketing collateral. You won't hear any resistance from us, right? So that's good. And I am really excited about the ribbon cutting of Tenant Trailhead. I'm gonna wax poetic here just for a second. I've been on this council for a while now. This is my 3rd term. And I never thought I would be in a position to say, well, I remember when. Well, I remember when we were in the old city hall in one of the rickety, smelly rooms that we had that was the adjournment room. And we were receiving a presentation from folks from the mountain bike and Mountains to Sound that were asking us to just open our minds to exploring an opportunity with the Tenant Trailhead. It wasn't called that at the time. And just granting them the acknowledgement that the city council was even interested in exploring the opportunity, not investing money, but just interested in the opportunity. And I remember spending about 45 minutes arguing with my colleagues at the time, a different council, as to why we should be interested, because there was hang up on the idea that we would be actually committing funds to it. Took myself and Councilmember Vulcan at the time, some patience, some careful words to convince the council that we should be interested in doing that. That expression of interest has led to the tenant trailhead that we'll be cutting the ribbon on Friday. It's one of the things that I'm most proud of, my contributions to the city of North Bend. So I am going to do my best to be there. But I did want to take a little bit of credit because it was through some careful negotiation and political management in that meeting to convince my colleagues that it is something that the city of North Bend should explore doing, and now we have it. So I'm looking forward to the future that it will bring. Is a fantastic opportunity as the interlocal agreement, different agencies coming together to give a fantastic opportunity to the city of North Bend. And I'm looking forward to the chamber taking full advantage of that and doing all that you can do to maximize its potential. So thank you for indulging me on that one. I remember when moments. Appreciate that. Other than that, hope everybody takes care. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Elwood. And Mr. Miller, would you like to say anything tonight?
I'm just looking forward to your announcements because we have a lot to do next week.
We
know,
do. We got a full
Not
plate.
only with social service agencies, with the Tenant Trailhead Park. There's just a lot going on here in your State of the City address at the chamber lunch. So it's going to be a busy week, and I hope a lot of council people can come out for those events.
I agree with you. Thank you, Mr. Miller. And I'm sorry you have to listen to me through this, but there's a real need. So here we go. Please join project partners and the community for the Tenant Trailhead Ribbon Cutting Ceremony on April 19th at 12 p.m. Love to see the community out there, and all our council members are wonderful staff as well. Its park is located at 12201 West Fryberry Way. The Yard Waste Recycling Program will be held this Saturday, April 20th from 8 a.m. to noon at Public Works. Those attending are asked to use Public Works entrance off the North Bend Way. In honor of Earth Day, the city invites community members to join us for North Bend Beautification Days on April 21st and 22nd, with an Earth Day proclamation on April 22nd. The city, in conjunction with the Snoqualmie Tribe, will be holding a special recycling event on Saturday, April 27th from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. at Snoqualmie Middle School. The event is open to all King County residents wishing to dispose of scrap metal, appliances, electronics, fluorescent bulbs, tires, and batteries. The North Bend Jazz Walk will be held from 6 p.m. to midnight on Saturday, April 27th, in downtown North Bend. The event features 19 different venues playing fantastic selection of jazz music. For more information about these events and how to purchase tickets for the Jazz Walk, please visit the community calendar on the city website. Finally, as was stated earlier tonight, in the wake of the devastating fire in downtown Snoqualmie early on Sunday morning, I would like to express my despair for the 4 local businesses that have lost everything: Chickadee Bake Shop, Snoqualmie Ice Cream, Snoqualmie Pie Company, and Littlest Wishes Photography. A GoFundMe fundraiser has been set up by Snoqualmie Valley Chamber. Thank you, Kelly. Please visit their website at gofundme.com and search Snow Valley Chamber. Any amount, no matter how small, will help. And thank you again, Kelly, for your great presentation. And thank you, Sarah, for speaking on behalf of your concerns. We always, this council loves to hear from our community. And I just want to say, let's go to a motion to adjourn. How's that?
I move to adjourn.
That was too easy. Okay.
Second.
Okay, motion by Mr. Elwin to adjourn and seconded by Mr. Tremolata. And everybody have a great night, be safe, and have a fun weekend.